say, but the idea is that if I articulate the common purpose, will stop us getting distracted in the excitement of the visits from going off task, the collective task. And our assumption is that everyone in the room is here because we want to change the world, or at least our bit of the world. And we think that there are two things that are going to help us do this. One is to be able to articulate a theory and a set of ideas about how complex systems work and how complex systems change. And we think that being able to articulate that will allow us to grow support in our own work, in the world around us, for our way of getting systems change to happen. And equally, building a shared language, a shared way of understanding it, will help us collaborate with each other over time. That will have a similar framework. And the work of today is to start that articulation. We won't get very far today, but we want to start that process of understanding the richness of the ways we have of seeing in the room and seeing what's common, what's different, what's new, and how we can get collective learning. Our assumption is that our collective intelligence is far greater than any of our individual intelligence. So the sense we could make as a group here should actually be a platform, should enhance our current knowledge and understanding. And you'll be delighted, but not very surprised, to know we're not going to do that by having a bun fight, an argument about theories of change. What we're going to do is go out and have a shared experience and use our experience to try and articulate our ways of making sense of it, what we notice. So we've got two separate groups and tasks that we do. In the morning, we're going to visit a system. It happens to be a hospital, but that's purely accidental. And what happens is different groups will see some bits of the whole of the hospital and some bits of parts. And then collectively, we will try and make sense of the whole. In the afternoon, we have a second visit where we'll be looking at separate organizations in different groups. So do make sure you know your group too for the afternoon. And there we'll be trying to share our underlying beliefs about how you get change to happen. So we're going to use the two visits to build and start conversations about the two dimensions that we think would help all our collective work. Now, when we go out to the visits, we suggest there are two ways in which we can make sense of it. One is by asking wise questions. We've all got enough experience in the room to know that by and large, direct questions don't really give us useful answers. It never ceases to amaze me that I've never gone into an organization as an OD consultant, and if someone introduces himself and says, "Hi, my name's X, and I'm the problem here." It's really interesting. 20 years, no one's ever said, "I'm the problem in this organization." In 20 years, everyone's been very good at pointing out everyone else who's the problem, etc. So there's something around, if we know we ask simple questions, we don't get the right answers. And as a potential prompt, in the workbooks on page 15, we've suggested some questions that we might use to surface a richer understanding of the organization. And we know that the wise questions, it's about our ability to share our different interpretations of the answer, to compare the answer that one person gave with the answer another person gave, when they're different, when they're the same. And the four questions in the book are purely a starter. The point is that you, and particularly on the way over, you start thinking of other wise questions that you want to ask and add into it. But I can't overemphasize, the purpose is not to learn about the technical details of the hospital. It's not to know around the specifics of the IT system. It's far more to know what information are they interested in, what do they pay attention to, what are the criteria and the judgments that they chose that information for, how is it actually used in the organization, whose choice was it, how do people who on the receiving end of that information experience the information. So we're really interested in understanding how the organization, how the system works, not the details of it. Knowing the number of beds or the number of operations they do per day is useful context, but not the point. So what we hope is you'll stick and enjoy questions that help understand how organizations work. So we go to the organization, we'll get an introduction and overview from the chief executive, really helpful in terms of context. Then in the groups that we're sitting in, we will go into a deeper understanding of a part of the organization. And then we will have a set of tours around the hospital and encourage you to try and keep themes. The kind of questions you ask there relate to the theme that you had your initial grouping discussion in. And then we'll, time later, we will build together the understanding we got as a group of our bits, and then later in the afternoon, we'll mix up across the groups and try and understand the organisation as a whole, given that we all had different experiences and saw different parts of the organisation. And we get an opportunity again over lunch to question the chief executive again at the end for any further questions that come up. So it starts off by setting the context, some questions in the beginning, and then again we can test ideas, hypotheses we have. But the important bit really is to take notes, because what we're trying to do is have grounded data when we come back to make sense. And the notes are as much questions your colleagues asked or the questions you asked. What was it that how you were curious about understanding the organisation versus the kind of questions that you asked, as well as their responses. We're really using this as a vehicle to try and understand each other better, to try and understand our different ways of seeing, to see whether we can build a shared, common, richer way of understanding and of seeing organisations and systems. That we can then try and see whether there's some guided, coordinated way of articulating it and working to it in a similar way. So the purpose really is to listen to each other as much as the people we visit. To be as curious about the understanding your person next to you makes of the response as to the actual response. So it's really a vehicle for us to talk, to have conversations that are grounded in a common experience rather than us share the pure theory with each other. And then we can see how we see the same thing differently, or whether it adds or conflicts, and how we can take that forward. So this is absolutely the starter. We'll spend more time in the following days growing and building it. So we're not expecting any neatness. The purpose of the task is not to get anything right. It's simply to experience it and share our experiences and have interesting conversations. Be curious about each other and what we see. So the key bit is we go from here. We'll have some, think on your way over what questions you want to add to it. We walk from here to the hospital. It's about 12 minutes on our pre-walks. We've actually pre-tested it. We go up to a nice air-conditioned conference room. We meet the chief executive. Then each of the groups will go off to separate locations. We get a mini tour. We come back to the room. We do some work together. We have some food there. And then you need to remember your group 2. And we leave from there in buses or to our next visits. After next visits, we come back here and we do some sense making. So be curious, take notes, have fun, contribute. Ask questions, challenge, and enjoy.
Just to say, the route is out of the building, turn left, at the first intersection we turn right, the hospital's on the left. If you get lost on the way, go to reception and ask for the chief executive's office. But please try and stay with your group leader. It's very higgledy-piggledy pavements. We're going to go down to the lobby now, and we'll go from there. It's going to get there by car. Liz, she's working your group. We need little umbrellas.
เด็กๆไม่เป็นไรแล้วเขาบอกว่าดูที่หลังแล้วทำตัดได้
Jack, how are you doing?
Can I ask you a question?
New officers in Vietnam who are making experienced troops on the ground there. And officers, they go this way, and guys move from here, they say, oh, I'm in the back. It's true, the